Now that the dust has settled, I feel like we can talk about that Europa League loss in a less emotional fashion and a more realistic manner. And the big question that I have is really what's next? What's next for Manchester United? What's next for these players? What's next for Ruben Amorim? What's next for INEOS? What's next for the fans? What is next? As Manchester United wrap up the worst season in probably the history of them being in the Premier League, just about scraping through. If it wasn't for the relegated teams being so poor, Manchester United could have found themselves in a much worse situation. Then putting all their eggs in one basket from the command of Ruben Amorim to then lose to Tottenham in a humiliating and embarrassing and pathetic fashion. So what's next? What's next? Be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe, guys, because let's put the emotion aside for now and try look at this from a realistic perspective and try be as realistic as possible. Let's start with, I don't think it's the biggest elephant in the room, but it's definitely the biggest conversation in the room right now, is Ruben Amorim and his future at Manchester United. I mean, coming into Manchester United, I do kind of feel bad for him due to the situation he walked into, the ultimatum that he was given by, Barada. And if the reports about Dan Ashworth believing that it wasn't wise to sack Ten Hag and bring in a manager that has a completely different system to the players that are available at his disposal. If that is the reality of why Dan Ashworth ended up leaving Manchester United, then, all you had to do was wait 6 months, because I guess he might have been proven right. Ruben Amorim was given an ultimatum to join Manchester United. It's either now or never, Barada reportedly said to him, and he took that as the opportunity because he said he wants to join Manchester United. But the reality is that he's made Manchester United not competitive at all, not improved at all. If anything, Manchester United have regressed so badly that I actually think it's RIP Manchester United, and this could be the beginning of the end for the club being a successful and big football club. I really don't want to believe that, and I try my best to not let the emotional side get to me. But I just look at the last season. I look at the last 7 or so months. I mean, Manchester United in the league picking up 24 points in 26 games. Is that not embarrassing? Is that not humiliating? Is that not a joke? And this is why I said I would not be surprised if Ruben Amorim didn't survive this. But for me, we're going to come to the topic of INEOS because their hands are not clean in all of this as well. Ruben Amorim, for me, what I've struggled to get behind, or maybe struggled to, buy into, is this idea of we have to suffer, and we have to play suffering football to kind of grind out results, because a style of system and a style of play is so rigid that there's no adaptability. We play how we play how the manager wants to play, and if the results come, the results come, and if they don't, they don't. Now, I know we're going to have this conversation about the fact that Ruben Amorim doesn't have the players that he needs for his system, but I'm watching a Europa League final and I'm seeing Kobbie Mainoo coming on in the 89th minute. That's not a system I can get behind, because you have one of your best young academy products to come through Manchester United. In the last decade, Manchester United have produced Marcus Rashford, Mason Greenwood, and now Kobbie Mainoo, and it's probably likely that neither of them will be at the club next season. Manchester United have produced a phenomenal talent in Kobbie Mainoo, a young, I will say, product, the best midfield product that we've probably produced in our midfield. And because of the system, and because football is, it's a style of play and you have to have certain profiles, we're not getting the opportunity to reap the benefits of that player. And yes, I'm really disappointed in that. And I'm actually, yesterday in particular, we're going to talk about the lineups. We're going to talk about the starting lineup, because in post-match comments, Alejandro Garnacho made some damning statements. Ruben Amorim himself made some damning statements. Ruben Amorim referenced, he was asked the question in the press conference after the result, and he was asked about, why he went with the lineup that he went with, and in particular, a player like Mason Mount over maybe Garnacho. And he referenced the fact that Mason Mount came on against Bilbao and changed the game by scoring 2 goals. And what happened in that first half? Garnacho missed a chance. That was literally near enough word for word what he said. And then Garnacho saying after the game that he doesn't understand why he's been such an integral part, coming on throughout the competition, playing throughout the competition, getting goals in finals for Manchester United in the FA Cup last season, for him to just be benched for a player that hasn't played. And that's how the dressing room is broken because players are able to come out and make. Do I agree with Garnacho to an extent? Yes. But this is why I feel like the culture at Manchester United is toxic. And Alejandro Garnacho, unfortunately, I don't think we're gonna see him at Manchester United next season. I think he's made his bed with those comments and he's probably gonna have to lay in it. But again, he came on yesterday, 20 minutes to spare, and created something. I don't think Mason Mount should have started. I don't think Kobbie Mainoo should have come on in the 89th minute. And for me, those decisions are at the foot of Ruben Amorim. They land at his doorstep. I can sit here and talk about INEOS as much as I want. I can talk about, the style of play, and I could talk about Jim Ratcliffe. I could talk about the Glazers. But really and truly, when it comes to the result against Tottenham in particular, Ange Postecoglou read Ruben Amorim like a book. He knew exactly what Manchester United were going to do. And on the flip side, Manchester United had no answer for the way that Spurs set up, because Spurs were happy to sit off the ball, 27% possession, press Manchester United. They know that in the press, they can probably force an error, force an uncomfortable situation for Manchester United and get that goal, that one goal. And I think Spurs had so much confidence in the fact that Man United wouldn't score. And they had a lot of confidence in the fact that they could be compact and they can, sit in a back five and be defensively sound in their structure. And Manchester United wouldn't be able to break it down. Why? Because Manchester United's only real game plan under Ruben Amorim was to get the ball out wide to Amad Diallo. Hopefully he can make something work, but it did not happen. Why? Because number one, Tottenham Hotspurs and Ange Postecoglou put 2 or 3 guys on Amad. Amad starting in the right 10 was a mistake. It was the wrong choice. Another wrong choice in the starting 11 that Ruben Amorim made, in my opinion. Having Amad playing as a right wing back. Now, in particular, if you look at particular moments in the game, and I shared some on Twitter, there's particular moments in the game where Amad has the ball on the wide side because he's so used to playing as a wide player. He's picking up the ball in positions where Mazraoui should be picking up the ball as a right wing back. So why don't you just play Amad at right wing back? It would have then saved Manchester United fans having to watch Luke Shaw at left-sided centre-back, because Lenny Yoro could have played there, Mazraoui could have played right-sided centre-back. Amad cannot be the sole answer for Manchester United in build-up. And when it's not working, and it did not work yesterday, because it did throughout the first half, the first 30 minutes before Manchester United conceded, Amad was probably Manchester United's brightest spot. But then suddenly the trajectory went downhill for him. He suddenly became infested with all the other diseases that everybody else has in the attacking lineup for Manchester United. And suddenly he was making errors and he was making mistakes, and he probably felt the weight of the team on his shoulders. Why? Because a player like Bruno Fernandes is not stepping up. And I actually think that the writing is on the wall for Bruno Fernandes, similar to Garnacho, similar to a couple of other players. I think the writing is on the wall for him. Manchester United, he's come out himself in an interview with Portuguese media and said, if Manchester United choose to cash in on me, then basically I have to accept it, because that's football. That's him basically saying, you know what, I'm probably ready to leave. He's now lost more finals. He's actually lost 2 European finals at Manchester United. He's lost more finals at Manchester United than he's won. Let me repeat that again. He's lost more finals at Manchester United than he's won in his career. And in a game like a Europa League final, where I think Bruno Fernandes has been a bright spark for Manchester United, this is another mistake that I think Ruben Amorim made. And that's why I'm saying what's next, because I noticed the mistake with Luke Shaw starting. I've noticed the mistake with Mount starting. Amad started in the right 10. And the other mistake that I think probably was the biggest hindrance for Manchester United is Bruno Fernandes starting in the base of the midfield immediately. Usually in game, when Bruno Fernandes is deployed to a deeper role in the 70th minute, he works better then. But when it's from minute 1 and you're coming up against the likes of Basuma, Sarr, that love to press, Ange Postecoglou said he started them too because, they are physical. They eat the grass up. They run and cover so much space. You're not going to survive that. And he didn't. He did not survive that. That was a Hall of Shame performance, not just for Bruno, I think, in a European final. 99% of the team, that was a Hall of Shame performance. I think the only person that can actually keep his head high is Lenny Yoro. But Bruno Fernandes making those comments after the game, saying, I've always said I'll be here until the club says to me that it's time to go. At the end of the day, if the club thinks that I'm too much and it's time to part ways, football is like this. But I've always said, and I'll keep my word in the same way. If the club thinks it's time to part ways because they want to do with some cash or whatever, it is what it is. And football is sometimes like that. I don't think if there's nothing that says to me and to us that that's not a statement that Bruno Fernandes is probably eyeing up to leave, then I think that's pretty evident. Given the fact that last season, I don't know if you guys remember, last summer in the transfer window, before he got his little bumper contract, his agent was looking at opportunities for him. The Saudi rumors is legit, guys. It's legit. And I'm not just saying that because I came back from working with a team in the SPL over the weekend, but I'm saying that the Saudi rumors are legit. It's not just one club that wants him in Saudi. It's multiple clubs. And they have the money to spend. Manchester United, going into next season, no money, no Europe, one game of football a week, probably no Bruno, probably no Rashford, maybe no Garnacho, maybe no Kobe, because Man United might start to cash in on the players that are sellable. Why? Because of these people here. Because of these people here who have ran the football club into the ground. And this is why I have no sympathy for INEOS. I have none whatsoever, because they have made a shit show of every decision that they have been poised to make. Every decision that has landed at their feet, they have made a horrible, horrible decision every single time. And whether it's, people don't seem to care, but I care about the fact that 500 plus working class people lose their jobs due to financial cuts because of the Glazers, and it's being packaged as this idea that if we get rid of all this stuff, Man United can buy it in the summer transfer window. That is not the case. Jim Ratcliffe, when he took over Manchester United, he said he wants to make Manchester United the most profitable football club, not the most successful. He wants to make Manchester United profitable because he's a businessman. He don't want, yes, you can agree. I can say that with success, comes money, comes profitability. But right now, the priority on Jim Ratcliffe and INEOS's mind is to make Manchester United better in a financial position. So whether that's cutting 500 people's jobs, probably more are to come after this. Probably more are to come. I don't have any sympathy for INEOS whatsoever, because every decision that they've had, they've made a blunder of it. And the day that they decided that, you know what, we just need to get our foot into the door with the ownership and take a 20-something% ownership, Glazers were happy. They were ecstatic. Why? Because they were no longer in the firing line. Now all of the bullets, all of the shots are landing at Jim Ratcliffe and INEOS. Dave Brailsford, best in class. You got to be having a laugh. You have to be having a... I think they're having us on, guys. I think they're having us on. This idea of footballing minds. Omar Barada, Jason Wilcox. The model that Jason Wilcox is turning Manchester United into in terms of recruitment is not a Manchester United that I grew up watching. And it's not the Manchester United that I grew up to love. They are turning Manchester United into a Red Bull model. A Red Bull model. Manchester United cannot replicate what Chelsea have done, because Chelsea's owners had a clean slate, invested millions and billions into the club, sold their women's team off to a private limited company to generate more revenue. They found loopholes to make more money to spend. Manchester United do not have that luxury. And I say it again, they do not have an ownership that probably prioritizes winning. This idea of Project 21, competing for a Premier League title in 2028. Manchester United will be lucky to be in Europe in 2028, let alone competing for a Premier League title, if I'm being totally honest. But my question is at this kind of... I'm at this crossroad. What is next for Manchester United and Ruben Amorim? What's next? Is it, let's see how the summer transfer window goes? I will be so honest with you guys. If Ruben Amorim gets sacked at the end of the season, we cannot say that it's a surprise. We cannot say it's not a surprise. But if they choose not to sack him, my biggest worry is they give him a transfer window. The results don't go the way that the results should be going, and they sack him in November, and United find themselves back at square one. Now, in an ideal world, INEOS leave, Amorim leaves, Glazers leave, United start afresh. That's an ideal world, but we don't live in an ideal world. Now, in a realistic world, Ruben Amorim at Manchester United has been a failure. He has been a failure. The cards that he's been dealt has not helped. But we have to be honest with each other, guys. Ruben Amorim has failed at Manchester United this season. And we can sit here and talk about structure, systems, profiles, players, all these buzzwords. But the truth is, and Sean Dyche said it on the overlap the other day, simple football, not overcomplicating stuff, will get you results. And Sean Dyche said that even he probably could have got more results with this Manchester United team. The best Manchester United performance I've watched under Ruben Amorim was his second Premier League game in charge against Everton, 4-0. And that is the day that Ruben Amorim said, Manchester United fans, we have to suffer. We are going to suffer so that this time next year, we will be in a better place. We ain't that far away from this time next year. We are not that far away. And to me, it doesn't look like it's getting any better. Ange Postecoglou schooled Ruben Amorim and Manchester United yesterday. And yes, maybe some luck played into it. Belief played into it as well. And this is why I think, again, the loser mentality that Manchester United have had this season is a part to play in it. Because when you have a free pass to lose every Premier League game and have no you got no consequences to those results because everything is based on Europa League, that's a loser mentality. And I've been saying it throughout the season. The fact that people were happy to prioritize Europa because magically Man United would win the final coming up against a Premier League opponent, despite the fact that they cannot beat any Premier League team right now. The last time Manchester United beat a Premier League team outside of the relegation zone was against Fulham, and that was in January, and that was a last-minute screamer from Lisandro Martinez, right? The last time Spurs beat a Premier League team outside of relegation was Manchester United in February. Manchester United have now lost 4 games this season alone to Ange Postecoglou and Spurs. Ange Postecoglou has schooled 2 different Manchester United managers. Loser mentality seeps through to every single player at Manchester United. Every single one of them. And I think a big part of that is INEOS, it's Amorim, who have told everyone, you know what, prioritize Europa League. We've had managers coming out in press conferences saying that Europa is the priority. Forget about Premier League. That is where you create a loser environment. And that's what Manchester United have. A loser environment. A bunch of losers that play for the team. Luke Shaw doing an interview after the game saying we need to look at ourselves and decide whether we actually deserve to play for this team. We. You mean you. You don't deserve to play for Manchester United. Rasmus Højlund doesn't deserve to play for Manchester United. Andre Onana doesn't deserve to play for Manchester United. Mason Mount doesn't deserve to play for Manchester United. I will say Alejandro Garnacho shouldn't play for Manchester United. Bruno Fernandes, I think his time comes to an end now. I'll be honest. I will be totally honest. There are some players that should hang their heads in shame. Luke Shaw's performance yesterday was nothing less than a comedy show. It was a humiliation for him, anyway, for his standards, if you want to say that. Because so many fans were, England fans last summer praising him for getting fit for the Euros and, was a difference maker for England in the final. You have to be kidding me. You absolutely have to be kidding me. Manchester United, I think this is the shake that Manchester United need. I don't think it even changes anything because I'm not gonna lie, guys, there's no optimism left in me. Call me pessimistic, but I have no hopes. I think I've accepted now that the glory days of Manchester United are a long time ago. And had I known that under Sir Alex Ferguson, his final season, if I had known that would be the last time I would be in glory of a Premier League title, maybe I would have appreciated it more and I would have celebrated it more. I was so used to it. It became a norm for me to see Manchester United winning Premier Leagues. I was lucky in my teens and late teens to be able to see that. But now, let's be honest, this is what Manchester United are now. And INEOS are not helping. They're turning Manchester United into a business, not a football institute. All they care about is profitability. You got Man United fans becoming accountants, unfortunately, because of that. You got Ruben Amorim throwing players on, criticizing players publicly after a final, rather than just saying, you know what, I made that choice to start Mount over Garnacho because I thought that was the better solution. And if it was wrong, then I take the fault for it. I would have preferred him to say that. And then you got players coming out after saying, I don't know why I was benched. I feel like I'm living in a simulation, guys. I feel like I'm living in a simulation. But the reality is, I think this is Man United's new reality. This is it. We are losers. And we got a bunch of losers that put on the shirt. We got a loser sitting in the dugout. We got a bunch of losers sitting in the boardroom. Everybody is a loser. We are losers, guys. That's it. Now, let me know your thoughts down below. How are you guys feeling, I guess, 12, 16 hours after that result? The emotion is still there. I think the emotion is still raw. Watching now interviews of, Luke Shaw and Bruno and Garnacho, I'm just fed up. I'm just fed up. And I'm wondering, I don't even know how Ruben Amorim survives this. Let me know your thoughts down below, guys. Be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe as well if you're new here.